Hey guys, welcome to the next video. This is part 3. We are going to be looking at the RC transmitter that I'm going to be fitting into the Vendetta, and we're going to try and get it binded up to the Teranis and see if we can get some motors spinning. Cool. Okay, so I've got the receiver out of the box now. As I said earlier, it's a mini one from FrSky. This is the XSR mini. You can see how small it is there. It's got quite some nice features for its size. It's smart port enabled, which allows two-way full duplex transmission. It's S-bus output. It's also got C-ppm output. It's a lighter weight and physically smaller than its predecessor, the X4R. It's got more channels, so you can get from 1 to 16 channels from an S-bus, or you can get 1 to 8 channels on C-ppm. It's got quite a few features for its size. I got this on eBay for £20, which is a little bit cheaper than what you can get retail. This was brand new. I bought a Teranis, which I'll show you in a bit, obviously, to go along with this, especially for the Vendetta. So I'm just going to dismantle the Vendetta so we can get access to the electronics tray. We can have a look at where the best place for this is going to be to mount it, how to get the antennas in and out of the 3D monocoque chassis, and we'll then bind it. Obviously I will need to cable it up first, bind it, see where we go from there, because we don't really have a quick start guide with the Vendetta, so I'm not actually sure what the correct order is to do this. So as I said in the last few videos, that I'm learning as I go along. So hopefully this is interesting. Hopefully you'll find it easier if you come to set your own Vendetta up, and even better if you've happened to use the same transmitter and receivers as me. Obviously the Teranis is probably the industry standard now for racing and models. It's only about 250 to 200 pounds depending on what one you get. I bought the one that's in the hard case, the flight case, sorry, not the hard case, the flight case, and I got that for about £175. So all in all we're looking at about £195 just for the receiver and the transmitter, and then we've obviously got the Vendetta itself, which is £420. So before we've even got this thing in the air, we're looking at around about 600 UK pounds. Cool. So as you can see, I've dismantled the Vendetta, and I'm now going to try and fit the receiver into the electronics tray. So just going over what I've found out so far. The Powercube is in S-bus mode by default, which means it should be fairly easy to get this wired up. So looking at the receiver that I've got, it comes with 5 cables. You can see there's the ground, the power, and then 3 signal cables. Each signal cable is for a different thing, and it actually says on the receiver, I don't think you can read it here, but basically the white one is S-bus, the green one is C-ppm, and the yellow one is S-port. Not too sure what S-port is. I think it's an FrSky specific feature, so we're not going to be using that. So we're going to go with S-bus because it's the most common. So for my receiver, it's the white cable, and when we're connecting it up to the receiver cable on the Powercube, we're using this servo type lead, and just happens to be the white cable again, which makes it nice and easy to wire it up. I'm going to have to do a bit of soldering and stuff to get this properly in, but for now that's what I'm going to do. I'm just not going to cut these off. I'm just going to coil them up, because we never know, might need them at some point one day. So I'm going to have a go at that, and then we'll see how we do, and then I'll let you guys know what the outcome of that is. Okay, so I've decided that before I try and do any soldering, it's probably a good idea to try and understand exactly how this is going to fit into the electronics tray where it's going to go, how long the cables need to be, etc, etc, etc. So I'm just going to show you now. With this particular receiver, as you know, it's got 2 antennas, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get this in the camera view, but you can see just below the XT60 connector there's these two like brackets. That's for the poles. So the antenna sticks that we looked at yesterday, I'll just grab one sec. These antenna tubes, we'll trim these down to size because obviously they're way too big. These sit in here like so, and one each side, and then we use the little rubber heat shrink things that we looked at yesterday to slide over the top to keep the antennas secure to the poles, and then we'll feed these antennas up through here like so, and then this will just sit in there like that, and then we'll be able to shorten these so if I can get in a little bit closer, we'll shorten these cables down so we don't have as much excess wiring as we need. Less wiring, less weight, faster. That's what we want. So I'm going to have a go at that in a bit, and it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to record feeding it in and soldering, so I'm going to get it in and then I'll show you what that looks like. Right, so I've got the receiver in and I've threaded the antenna cables through those holes that we mentioned earlier. So there they are, just coming out the top there. 1 and 2. I don't know if you can see, I'll try and get a bit closer. So yeah, that's all nice, and I've just left it hanging, sort of resting in there for now, because next thing I'm going to concentrate on is the little cable that come with the receiver. I've just stripped the ends off, as you can see. I didn't actually use pliers, I actually used a flame, because these cables are so thin you risk just chopping through them. And I'm just going to use a servo extension lead that I've cut as pretty much as small as I can get. I'm obviously going to connect this up like so, and just use a small bit of heat shrink obviously to make sure there's no shortages. I'm then going to connect it all back up, and hopefully we'll be able to power her up for the first time and see about getting into the settings on the OSD. And I believe that we can't do that until we've got the receiver working connected, and of course we'll need to get it binded, so that will be the next step. This is not a soldering video, so I'm not going to go through how to solder, so I'm just going to get it done, and then I'll jump back on and show you where we're at. Okay, so back, and we finished doing the soldering, and you can probably see what I've done here. So I've connected those 2 cables as we showed you earlier, and just put a little bit of tape around it for now. I'm just going to leave these cables on just in case that we need them later for some reason. The receiver just sits in nicely like that, and the cables are going to fold down, and I'm just going to put a little bit of tape around it, so when we're sliding the electronics tray in and out of the frame, that they're not going to get trapped and chewed up. So I think we're almost ready to get into the actual configuration and stuff, so yeah, exciting times. So let's just see if we can get it all put back together, and yeah, plug a battery in. Just want to quickly show you before I start it back in that I've put the tape on. Just put it all the way around, just over the OSD Pro there. It's just electrical tape, so it's non-conductive insulating tape, so it's not a problem. and it just keeps those cables out of the way there when I slide that back in. Now I've got the receiver into the electronics tray. I've managed to get these antenna tubes cut down to size, because obviously, as you know, they were massive. This is the other one, so I'll just use one of them, cut them down to size, put them in the holes, threaded the transmitters up the side through those little bits of rubber that's provided with the Vendetta, and then I already had some of these end caps, which are just like rubber grommets that sit on, that just make it nice and tidy and stop the little ends flapping around, and just nice termination of that rod really. I also got the battery straps in now. Be warned, that was a pain. You have to be really careful because it just catches on all the electronics, particularly the OSD Pro and the USB ports and the little sockets in there. So it's a good idea to take your time with that. And I used one of the antenna sticks, and I poked it up through the bottom of the chassis to try and keep the straps away, and then use something else to prise up the strap while sliding. So as you can imagine, you almost need 3 hands to do it. So if you can get someone to help you, then maybe that might make it a little bit easier. So now I'm probably just going to get the arms on, get the whole thing put back together, and then we'll stick a battery on it. We'll get it connected up to some goggles, and we'll see what we can see on the display. So here we are, we've got it all back together again. It's looking rather nice and complete, as you can see. I've taken the lens cap off, I've put the arms back on, the battery straps back on, and we've also got the nice little antennas in. So yeah, it's all back together. So I've just got a couple of packs on charge. I'm just going to wait for those to charge, and once one's ready I'm going to stick it on, and then we're going to get the goggles up. We're going to get it tuned into the right frequency, and we're then going to go through the configuration. We might actually see some motor spin shortly as well, which is obviously what I'm looking for today. If I get a chance, I may take it outside just for a little hover. Probably not going to get time today for a proper flight, and definitely not enough time for me to go out and record a flight. So yeah, once the pack's charged, we're going to get it ready, and we can get configuring. So here we are, we're just about to power the Vendetta up for the first time. I've got my sky zones out here. They're just on the default channel at the moment, and I believe this is going to come up, and it also uses the default channel. So let's see what happens when we plug the power in. This is the first time that it's ever been powered up, so fingers crossed we see none of that magic smoke. Okay, so we've got some sort of constant beeping, which I'm going to have to try and work out what that is. Okay, so we're back, and as you can see, we're in a bit of a different situation than we were before. Obviously I should have took the props off, a bit of a noob type mistake, because if it had gone terribly wrong I could chop my fingers off. So before you power it up, make sure you take the props off. Standard things really. I guess I just got excited and just wanted to see pretty lights. So what we're going to try and do now is bind the receiver to the Teranis. Now the reason why it was beeping constantly when we first switched it on is because it was not able to find it wasn't able to make the RC connection to the transmitter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try and bind it. Now to do this with the Teranis and this mini receiver that I've got, on the instructions here you can see there's an FS button which is what initiates the binding process. So the instructions tell me to turn on the transmitter while holding the FS button on the module. Release the button, the red LED on the module will flash, indicating the transmitter is ready to bind to the receiver. Then we connect the battery to the XSR receiver while holding the FS button on the receiver. The LED will flash, indicating the binding process is complete. So we're going to try that now, and we're going to see how that goes. Okay, so I'm back again, and I've had a bit of a play around, and I think I've now got it to bind. So the process is a little bit tricky just because you have to hold down a certain few things. The instructions aren't clear, they don't make sense, so I've ignored those, watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I think I've managed to get it working, but the beeping is still happening. So I believe that although the Teranis is binded to the receiver, it's the Powercube is still not picking up that it's connected. So maybe it's not using S-Bus, I don't know, we'll have to dig a little bit deeper, but I'm just going to quickly show you how I did that. I won't go over it too much because you can find out yourself, but basically you turn on your Teranis.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Once it's on, you go to the menu and you page up till you get to model setup, then you click the plus, that takes you to the bottom, you go up to bind, and then you hit enter. The Teranis will beep for a little while, it will chirp, it's more chirping than a beep, and then while that's beeping you need to hold down the failsafe button on your mini receiver, which I know is there, so I can hold that down like that, and then you plug the LiPo in, the red light will flash, and then you should be able to turn it off, turn it back on, and you should get a green light on your receiver. And on my receiver that's just in this hole here. However, as I said, I'm not going to turn it on because I'm going to get overpowered by the screaming of the Vendetta's beeper. So it's still not working. I think it's bound, as I said, but I don't think it's picking up the fact that it's bound, so I'm going to have to do some more digging, and I'll report back very shortly, hopefully with some answers. Well, as you can probably tell, I got the beeping to stop. It was fairly simple. So for some reason, I mean, I did read, I'm not sure where I read it, but that S-Bus was the default protocol. But when I went, what I found out, the issue was because it wasn't connected to S-Bus, it was connected to PPW, whatever it is, PPM. And so that's why it wasn't picking it up, and that's why it was beeping. So what I've done, I'll quickly show you how I resolved that. So I downloaded and installed Clean Flight, and if you've not come across Clean Flight before, it is installed as a Chrome extension. So if you haven't got Chrome, you will need that to install Clean Flight. It just acts as an extension, and you just launch it just like any other extension. And once it's on, you just click. You need to change the drop down to USB. You then connect the USB cable to the USB port on the side, obviously plugging that straight into your laptop, changing the drop down at the top there to USB modem, and then you click connect, and you get a screen. And if you pick your V up and move it around, you'll see on screen that it's definitely working. And to get that working, you need to go to configuration up in the left hand side, scroll down a little bit until you see receiver mode. it was set to that, so I just changed it to that, and then changed it to S bus. Clicked the save and reboot button. The V then rebooted. It came up. It was still beeping. Obviously I needed to turn the Teranis on. As soon as I turned the Teranis on, it picked up the fact that it was connected, and we have silence. Silence is bliss. So I think we're now ready to start getting into seeing if we can get anything on the on-screen display. Obviously this camera is not going to pick up what's on the goggles on the on-screen display, and I don't have an external monitor. So what I'll do is I'll try and take some I'll try and record it, because the Sky Zones have got DVR, so I'll stick a memory card in there and I'll record what's going on in the goggles, which is probably going to be more interesting than me standing here with a camera and talking about it. So let's get on with that. Not much time left. I've got about an hour before I need to go out, so let's see if we can get at least something on screen. Okay, so you can probably see now on screen we've got the on-screen display, which is the configuration for the Vendetta. I had a few issues trying to get the sticks to center, so you'll see that I'm sort of not much going on screen at the moment, but I am actually trying to move the sticks into the center, and it just didn't work. And then all of a sudden these numbers came on screen and it just kicked in. So if you're not having any luck, then just keep moving your sticks around until you get it, and you'll see here that it walks you through, tells you which sticks to hold, where to hold them, tells you to hold them there, and it will go through, and once it's finished you'll get to the end and it will be finished. So I'll just let you watch this through. Not much to it. It should be fairly simple. The hardest bit, as I say, was just actually getting the OSD to start. The sticks were definitely centered, so you just need to maybe just wiggle them around a little bit off center and you should be fine. You'll get to the end and it might ask you to start configuring other settings, but you can just skip it. It does say on screen how to skip, so if you have any issues, you don't want to configure anything, then you can just move on. You'll see that in a second. I'll just wait for that to happen. Here it is now, so I'll just roll to the right to skip, and then the calibration pretty much was complete. We're back and we have finished the RC calibration, as you would have just seen in the goggles, and I'm now going to test the communication between the Teranis, the receiver and the flight controller. So basically, are we going to see any motors spinning? So I've got this little switch here which just helps so I don't have to keep plugging stuff in and out. I'll turn that on. We expect it to be beeping.
Welcome to OpenTX. Throttle warning. Switch warning.
Okay, so now the V has picked up the fact that the Teranis is connected. The beeping has stopped, which is great. So we're going to arm, and look, we've got motors spinning. Let's see if we apply a bit of throttle, what we get. Cool. That's a good sign. So it looks like we've got everything configured correctly, we've got communication, and we are almost at the very exciting part where we can go out and fly this thing. So looking at the weather, it's looking really nice out there today. No wind, no nasty rain clouds, so I've got a full set of packs ready to go, and I'm going to go try this thing out. I think there's still going to be some stuff that we need to do later on, but I just want to get out and fly this thing now. So without further ado, the maiden flight will be shortly. I think that's going to wrap up this video, because there's not much else I can do in this basic configuration part. But I'll follow up with anything else that I think needs to be done. I've tested the failsafe, that seems to work fine. I've not configured any buttons to change modes or anything like that. So if I have a go at that, then I'll also stick that up into a video, and maybe I'll play around with the settings in clean flight to see what we can do, and they can do some funky stuff with these LEDs. So I'm not a big fan of the green, to be honest, but that's it's just a colour. So yeah, I'm really excited now to get this out. I'm going to take the family out, we're going to take the camera out, we're going to take this out, and we're going to see what this thing can do. So thanks very much for watching, and hope you enjoy my next video, which should be the maiden flight.